From Jackie's uncensored voice lines to a spelling mistake that's been in the game for years, these are 100 Brawl Stars things that you won't be able to unsee. Brawlers usually have 5 fingers, or at least human brawlers, that is, but did you ever notice brawlers that have been in the game for longer can only move 3 of them properly? For example, Terra. One of the OG brawlers in her Urban Ninja Terra animation, you can clearly see only her thumb and index finger move freely, while the other 3 are literally glued together. The same can be seen with Colt, Nita, Brock, Bo, and just so many other OG brawlers. Even non-human brawlers like 8-Bit aren't spared from the same curse. And no, it's not just a design choice, as new brawlers like Kaze and Kenji can move all their fingers freely like normal people. Whatever's going on at Star Park, it's definitely sus. But definitely not as sus as Willow, because for some reason he's literally wearing 2 different types of socks, 1 on each leg. Kinda similar to Melody, because she also has different colored laces for each of her shoes. How am I just now noticing this? Although Piper's gloves and her pins are white, on her base model, it's pink. And it doesn't stop there. Edgar always wears gloves, but on some of his pins, they're completely missing. I could go on forever, but the point is, fix your game, Supercell. Moving on, Colt has always carried 2 revolvers, but look closely. His base model only has 1 holster. So unless he's storing the other in a pocket dimension or something, nothing's adding up here. And that's not even the only thing about him that makes 0 sense. In game, Colt always shoots out 6 bullets, but on his belt, he only has room for 5. Someone gotta teach Supercell math. I bet you didn't notice this detail in Showdown. The walls at the edge of the map actually aren't connected at all. Between the interactive and the environment walls, there are easily noticeable tiny gaps. Almost as noticeable as this secret detail about Grom, because if you turn Grom to the side, you will notice his hands are slightly tanner than his arms, which makes no sense, because that's the only exposed part not covered by anything. But this fact will surprise you. In all of Mo's pins, his ears actually reflect his emotions. Even though Lou's hat looks just like a normal hat at first, from a different angle, you can clearly see it's actually built like a hinged lid. This one has to be the weirdest. When Gale launches his beanie into the air in his default animation, his eyebrows will literally detach from his head for a brief moment, which looks very weird. Did you know Frank has secretly been training to be a model? Not really, but if you rotate him around, you will notice his jawline is just so incredibly sharp. It almost looks like a mask. You've played thousands of ranked matches before, but I bet you missed this tiny detail anyway. When a team wins their first round, 1/2 of the skull icon fills in right. But here's the weird part, the filled half doesn't even line up properly with the other side. On the topic of ranked, when you're choosing your brawler, you'd think the placeholder silhouette would disappear, but nope. Your brawler icon just ends up covering it instead. Lazy Cell strikes again. Now let's talk about eyebrows. In a previous video, I mentioned how Shelly's base model has violet eyebrows, but for some reason her icon shows them as black. And she's not alone, because on Piper's icon, she also has black eyebrows, even though on her base model, it's always been yellow. However, believe it or not, Dynamite is actually a nickname. Thanks to a Twitter post by the official Brawl Stars account, we learned his real name is actually D. Michael. Maybe short for Dynamite Michael, if I were to take an educated guess. In Lou's mastery icon, or records icon I should say, his ice cream cone has eyes, but on his base model, the cone has none. Gus used to keep his hand closed behind his back, but now he's got his fingers crossed. No idea what that means, and honestly, I don't know if I want to find out. Supercell added Bunny Grom in the Easter of 2022, but what you didn't know is that Supercell had this concept in mind way before that. You see, back in 2019, they published this trailer announcing Supercell Make. In that trailer, they showcased all sorts of cool never-released skins, and one of them was Bunny Bo. So who knows, maybe if Grom wasn't a thing, we could have had a bunny skin for Bo. But what you can see today is Cordelius's mushroom before they're fully grown. They are just little dots around his feet. Robot brawlers like Rico, Barley, and Carl have a metal bar with 2 screws on their back, but so do human brawlers like Frank, Mr. P, and Buster. Actually, can you call Frank a human? There are many brawlers like Jesse, Piper, and Mandy who's got blushes on their cheeks, and they actually show up in their base models as well. But there's one brawler who's been faking it. Pam's icon shows 2 big blush marks, yet in her in-game model, there's no sign of them at all. Brawl Stars recently added this profile picture. Despite what it may look like at first, it is actually based on an old bug where if you picked Mortis and perfectly aligned yourself with a wall, you could literally dash into the wall, making you almost invincible. Or Supercell just really wanted to draw Mortis's butt. And that's not even the craziest thing Brawl Stars added in this update, because remember this Illumi skin? Well, if you look closely during her losing animation, Hades Mortis' hand pops up and brutally pulls her into the underworld. This is because in Greek mythology, Persephone gets abducted by Hades and gets forced to marry him. Why would they even put this in a kid's game? Now, time for a lightning round. Kay's in her geisha mode doesn't have lipstick, yet in her pins, she does. Jackie has some safety goggles with a dark gray band in her profile icon, but in reality, it's pink, just like her hearing protectors. The stripe on Gale's beanie is nowhere near as thick in reality as it is in his profile icon. It is much thinner. And in Tara's profile icon, her third eye has a purple outline, while in her base model, it's actually gray. Although Draco has yellowish eyes in his profile icon, it is white in his Brawler model. In RT's icon, it looks like both his upper and lower halves have been merged into one, because near the bottom, you can see his cassette player, which is only visible when he's split into two halves. Kenji and K's almost have the exact same stats. From their health, damage, range, to even their movement speed are all the same, which is kinda cute. Meeple's winning animation was recently changed, and now he no longer opens his book. Instead, he just stupidly stares at a closed book. Why, Supercell? Back when Wasabi powers were still around, Lily's one made not only her super bounce, but also her main attack. Sadly, with her hypercharge, it doesn't work. You can actually see the eyes of Astral Colt's portrait as it's fading out. And back to kinda normal speed. What if I told you Byron is a secret member of the Castle Courtyard trio? Because if you look at his boot from the side, there's a strange symbol which looks very similar to the one on Ash and Grom's body. Probably not related at all, but it's interesting nonetheless. It's still not as interesting as that time Mandy tried to straight up murder Piper. Let me explain. During Mandy's default animation while she's doing her little dance, a bullet suddenly flies straight at her head. Luckily, she manages to dodge it with perfect timing, though the question remains, whose bullet was it? If you pause it at just the right frame, you can actually see the bullet looking eerily similar to Piper's attack. Many players believe it's Colt's bullet, but if we compare it side by side, it's pretty clear that's not actually true. And get this, in Piper's description, it even warns us, don't ask about her past. Coinkadink? I think not. But that's just a theory. Normally in Amber's losing animation, she burns herself and goes black, but in Fiendish Amber's losing animation, she doesn't actually turn black from burning herself, which makes sense because some demons are resistant to fire, apparently. Interestingly enough, this also applies to her winning animation, which is such a cool detail. If you recently started playing Brawl Stars, you might not know that green and yellow bushes were originally meant to work very differently from what we have today. Green grass was supposed to regrow 30 seconds after being destroyed, while yellow grass, once gone, it was gone for good. Just like both behave now. If Hypercharge is activated, Mr. P's super deals exactly 1 damage when it lands on an enemy. No idea why, but now you know. Another incredibly useful fact you must know is that Fruit Samurai Kenji's eyebrows have very strange physics. They move when you rotate them. Totally game-breaking. It is extremely difficult and frustrating to reach a legendary in ranked. But even after going through all of that, all Supercell is prepared for you is another bug because the legendary rank icon in the lobby doesn't even match the one on the ranked road! The one on the lobby only has flames in one eye, while on the ranked road screen, it has it in 2. Speaking of rank, did you know Grom is secretly addicted to Brawl Stars? Don't believe me? Just take a look at Protector Grom's pin. Bro has solar fame. I wouldn't be surprised if you noticed this. Mr. P's porters from his porter reinforcement gadget are slightly smaller than the ones from his super. Let me know in the comments if you noticed that. Speaking of Mr. P, his penguin is only spawnable that shows up in the Brawler selection screen, but doesn't have an animation. Instead, it just sits there, completely frozen in the same position. Supercell has a habit of giving faces to random Brawler objects for some reason. From BB's bat to Grom's walkie-talkie and even Bonnie's cannon. When Penny got her remodel, Supercell didn't disappoint, this time giving her gun teeth, which can also be spotted in her Pop Penny skin. Angelo is gotta be one of the most annoying brawlers to play against, and it turns out all that constant ticking, floating, and disintegrating you in one shot even has them stressed out. If you look closely, one of his fingers actually has a tick that makes it twitch repeatedly. And that's not even the only thing strange about them, because if you look at the back, his wings are not even real. Rather, it's tied with a rope, but of course they still work. Like, of course they do! When Max takes a sip from his energy drink in his animation, at no point does he actually put it back on his belt. It just simply disappears and magically teleports there like nothing happened. We always see Bonnie launching out of her cannon, but in real life, that would be completely impossible. Well, ignoring the fact that it would obviously just blow her fracking head off, there's still one major issue, her helmet. Just look at the size of that thing. Like, there's no way that's going through. Getting back to it, though, in one of Buzz's early concept art, there's a sketch of him getting his lifeguard license revoked. So is he a fraud? Now, have you ever wondered what Jackie's really saying behind all that censoring in her voice lines? Thanks to the voice actor herself, we actually have the uncensored versions, and let me tell you, it's not what you think.
Let's go kick some booty. Holy fruitcake. Seriously? This. Seriously? Fudge this.
There's a tiny face hidden within Byron's face, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. I warned you. You've used supers a million times, but I bet you never noticed this little mistake. At first, the super button just seems like a perfect circle, right? Wrong. If you look closely, it's actually slightly cut off at the end. Guess this really is the $10 problem Frank was talking about. Colette is quite the creep. Even her Brawler description calls her out for it, exposing the fact that she's collected every single figurine, plushie, and toy of every single Brawler. But that's not even the weirdest thing about her, because if you ever selected her base model, you might have noticed something's off. She doesn't actually actually blink. Instead, she just glitches out and flashes a third eye for a second, which looks very cursed. Definitely not as cursed as Doug. Many players believe his nostrils are his eyes and think that he just has a big frackin' forehead, which is not true. If you pay close attention to his cry pin, you can see that the tear is coming from underneath his hat, proving that the holes are in fact his nostrils, not his eyes. But that's not all. You can also notice it in his angry pin. If you take a closer look, you can see part of his eyes for a split second. So the next time you're raging at your random Doug for missing a super, just say to yourself, he can't see. Not that my randoms ever have eyes regardless of the brawler, but that's beside the point. Pim might just be the most forgotten brawler in the entire game. She was one of the earliest brawlers added to the game. She still doesn't have a hypercharge. Not only that, she is also the only brawler in the game that doesn't have a rare skin. Gotta feel bad for the 2 Pam mains out there. Speaking of skins though, Gray has quite a lot of them. While most of them are solid, one stands out in particular, and it's Gigantifus Gray, which happens to be the only skin where he has painted nails on both of his hands. And yes, I had to mention both because on his Wanderer Gray skin, he also has painted nails, but for some reason, it's only on one hand. What, did he just run out of frackin' polish halfway through or something? What's going on here, Supercell? I demand answers! I will not be able to sleep until you give me answers! While we're on the topic of skins, here's another weird one. Electroid Chuck and Desert Scorpion Chuck have these little ridges on their upper lip, while his default and Inferno Chuck skin obviously has smooth lips. Someone get the dude some Vaseline. You guys might not believe me, and I am halting this entire video to say this, but I literally have a jar of cocoa butter healing jelly Vaseline right here. Like, if you're gonna get any type of Vaseline, guys, we're not sponsored by the way, any type of Vaseline, it's gonna be cocoa butter. Unreleased hypercharges like PAMs are labeled as overcharges in game files, which is likely an early or scrap name for hypercharges, but never made it to the cut. Mr. P's identity has been a mystery for a very long time, but what if I told you his identity has secretly been revealed? Well, it all starts a few years back when Lex got a suspicious delivery from Star Park, packed with a few odd items like...
We got a shirt, we've got a crown and some headphones, a weird toy.
But the second box is where things took a turn. This was a package directly from Snowtel, and inside was a letter signed Corbin Pelto. The letter even mentioned ringing a bell for assistance, so yeah, safe to say Mr. P's real name is Corbin Pelto. If you are new to the game, there's no way you know this one. When Carl was first added, his attack description literally said retuning instead of returning. Yeah, they just straight up missed an R. Multi-million-dollar company, ladies and gentlemen. And if you think they've gotten better by now, given the game's success, you couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, look, I might be digging too hard. I know they're still humans at the end of the day, but like, it's still a fact. Anyway, when the Angels vs. Demons update dropped, they messed up the description once again, this time writing, when you are an demon. That's a rookie mistake, honestly. That's not even all. Even when Meg's Hypercharge came out, on its description, they wrote it's instead of it's, without the apostrophe. And worst of all, in a now deleted ad, they spelled melody with a Y. Like, dude, how do you get your own character's name wrong in your own ad? I feel that, but fix your game. Look, maybe those were just petty, but now here we are, Lazy Cell striking again, actually. Back in January of 2020, Brawl Stars announced Mr. P, and in the same Brawl talk, they revealed his Agent P skin, but instead of actually rendering a 3D model like normal, they decided to just slap a concept art called a day, which looked so not good. Luckily, it remains to be the only skin that was shown as a concept art in Brawl talk. But speaking of lazy, when Kit's Kit Boxer skin was announced during the 2023 Brawler Days update, it had more than one flaw. For starters, his eyebrows were for some reason floating in between his eyes, and also for some reason, the scar on his eye, completely missing. What? Thankfully, they were eventually fixed before the skin actually dropped in game. Next up, in Mamushi Kenji's base model, his light sword is clearly orange, but in his pin, he magically has a purple one. In a previous video, I mentioned how Fang's main attack is a special animation that causes the screen to shake, but did you know the same effect also applies to Jean's main attack? Yep, it's true. However, if you use the evil Jean skin, that shake effect is nowhere to be found. No clue why, but you now can't unsee it anymore, and I apologize for that. With the recent bugs versus glitches update came a lot of bugs and glitches, which makes you wonder where exactly did all that developer money go? Well, dance moves! No, I'm not even joking. After the update, a new set of animations mysteriously popped up in the game files labeled as dances. In it, you could find animations for Spike, Shelly, Mr. P, and my favorite of them all, El Primo! too! Just look at those moves, man! Holy frick, he's gobbing! When checking a brawler's stats, you'll usually just see power points and coins, but here's a sneaky little detail for you. If you click on a trait, it suddenly shows gems too. So it's confirmed brawler traits are getting locked behind a paywall. Well done, greedy cell. RT is secretly black. Normally on RT's base model, his body's obviously white. However, what if I told you that's not always the case? If you head on over to the help and support section, you will notice a friendly RT GP1 who for some reason has a black body. Or maybe he's just wearing a suit. Like, yeah, I don't know. Unlucky Juju's the only skin that doesn't belong to any specific theme, not even Miscellaneous. Guess she really is unlucky. But I can guarantee you never noticed this one. The true silver and true gold skins for Brock have a little smug smirk that's completely missing from his regular skins. It's subtle, but once you see it, again, you can't unsee it. I'm sorry, but why does it look like the Roblox face? During the creation of Squeak's design, Supercell messed up. If you've ever used his clapping pin, you would notice it making this sound. Which is totally wrong, because he's supposed to be made out of slime. Some of you might already know that Belle and Sam are actually based on real people, and yeah, that's true. They were famous outlaws in the Midwest during the 1800s, but here's the part most people miss. Their last name was Star, since they were part of the infamous Star Gang, which is probably where Star Park got its name from. And the wildest part, one of their daughters was named Pearl. Can't call them lazy cell for that one. Well, that's quite a lot of skins, and for some reason, Supercell loves sneaking weird little details with each one. Just take Viking Bull, for example, who weirdly doesn't have any earring in his right ear, but to compensate for it, he has two in the left. Who does that? Okay, I mean, now I'm just criticizing fashion. Me criticizing fashion, how dare I? How hypocritical of me. Thankfully, Supercell took note and fixed it in his recent remodel, though. But that's not all. At the back of the Alley Cat Bull skin, there's a suspicious looking icon, which is the exact same one you can spot on Crow's back, too. I wonder what they're hiding, because it only gets weirder with El Primo. In El Baby Shark's animation, we can see him being forced to dance with a little fish, and when they finally stop pressuring him, you can clearly see the relief it brings to him. Hang on there, bud. We'll find a way to rescue you. When Fang's Octo skin uses his main attack, he kicks one shoe, but for some unholy reason, he keeps losing both. Literally unplayable. In the Marshall Ruff skin, he has a proper weapon holster strapped to his side, but if you look closely when he puts his gun away, it just simply disappears. Well done, Supercell. Speaking of skins, Sleepy Sandy is a sneaky little detail you probably never noticed. The print on his outfit is actually the old Brawl Stars background, and if you zoom in hard enough, you'll even spot a few icons that aren't in the game anymore. And of course, some of them are deformed because all Supercell. Weirdly enough, the El Rey Primo skin has Frank's face on his belt. Kinda sus, El Primo, not gonna lie. Godzilla Buzz is definitely one of the cooler skins of the game, but believe it or not, this wasn't the first version we saw. Back in 2023, Brawl Stars posted this image on their socials where we can see a much goofier version of what we got today, which might actually be in character, because while Buzz is out here saving brawlers from drowning, swinging around with his rope like frackin' Spider-Man, and even detecting enemies hiding in bushes, there's one thing he just can't do: ride a bicycle, according to this official comic. Colette's second gadget just uses Trixie's Colette's basic attack effects, except it's simply recolored green, which pisses me off so much because Trixie Colette is one of the best skins in the game, and they just decided to lazily copy and paste it for all of her other skins. Despite not being mentioned anywhere in the stats screen, Willow Super actually deals damage to the bots in the training grounds instead of hypnotizing them. This also works in heists, so go on, try it out. Super the heist for free wins. Moon Guardian Chester has two dragons on his head, while on his pin it only features one. High Flyer Lola's eyebrows are raised slightly higher than in her default skin, giving her a noticeably kinder expression. And if you look closely, her beauty mark, the black spot on her chin, actually appears to be slightly sharper too. Honestly, this Lola skin is so good, it should just be your default skin. Members of the Ghost Trio, Gus, Chuck, and Shade, all have a ghost icon in their second gadget. Clancy's icon is a bit of a mess. It shows his third stage model with the face print, but oddly enough, it still uses the gun from his first stage. It's like Supercell couldn't decide which version to commit to, so they just said yes. Pop Penny has to be one of the cutest skins in the entire game, but it's got one problem. The skull in the profile icon is totally flipped. Either the wink just magically switched sides, or the skull is alive. That was so freaking weird. Barry Zipper is kind of pointless. In the catalog, all skins are usually sorted alphabetically, but despite that, True Gold Brock still ended up all the way at the bottom of the True Gold skin list. Is it because he's black? After Penny's remodel, she's been showing more of her hair, but one thing she's gotten more secretive about is her eye. So here's the lingering question: what's under her skull patch? Thanks to her base pin animation, we can actually see there's a closed eye. Whether it's a real eye is unknown, but judging by the visible wound near it, it's probably safe to assume it's either damaged or missing entirely. Jackie has a huge huge problem. And no, it's not just her boring fracking gameplay mechanics. It's something even more tragic. You see, Brawl Stars usually color code stat changes in green to make things crystal clear, but in the description of Jackie's first gadget, the percentage sign isn't even green. Get it together, Supercell, come on! Did you know Jessie can fly? Well, not exactly, but if you spin Jessie around, it'll make her float. Normally, she's supposed to be riding on Scrappy's back, but since he can't be moved from his position, she just flies away without a worry for gravity. If you keep spamming your super with Crow, his walking animation will change. Maybe he just got tired from all that jumping, I don't know. Underneath Woody Colt's shoe, there's actually a little hidden text, which is a reference to the iconic Andy written under Woody's boot in Toy Story. And thanks to an art posted on Brawl Stars' Twitter page, we can even see what the text says. And it's Gus. Yep, Colt belongs to Gus now. The skin color of Patrick Buzz's pin is different from, well, Patrick. Ash's super is called Little Helpers, right? Well, apparently not, because in his hypercharged Supercell even misspelled that one, missing an S in the process. The music you're hearing right now is actually an unused theme for the Good Randoms event, and I gotta say, it sounds pretty good. Surprisingly, there's a ton more of these unused / scrapped content stuffs in the game, so if you want me to make a full video on them, let me know down in the comments. Despite being robots, Angel, Larry, and Lori have fingernails. Count Pengula is the only Mr. P skin that uses his suitcase instead of his hat as a spawner for his porters. Mr. Dragonfruit is also an exception, but I have no idea what he's using, so let's just pretend it doesn't count. And lastly, Bananas Colt and Angel Jean have similarly textured feet. Wait, no, wait, hold on, I can explain! Anyway, make sure to subscribe and check out the video on screen if you enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching.